It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. NHL draft going on. The Preds, with their first pick on Thursday night, took 18-year-old forward Joakim Kemell from Finland with the 17th overall pick. Was a projected top 10 pick. He led Finland in scoring at right wing at the U18 World Junior Championship this year. Preds did not have a second-round pick. They obtained an extra third-round pick in a trade with San Jose, receiving a prospect and the pick for center Luke Kunin. With those two third-round picks, the Preds selected Graham Sword from the WHL Spokane Chiefs, as well as another prospect in Adam Ingram from the Youngstown Phantoms. Nashville Soccer Club hits the road again this weekend, heading to Charlotte for a 6 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. NSC is currently in a playoff spot at 6 in the Western Conference. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. It's Friday. I feel like we should have different music for Friday. Friday just hits different. We got any other different, like, Friday type music? I like our song. I mean, I like what we got for a theme song, but I like something else, then it just rolls into, that signals to people it's Friday, it's after lunch, just go on home.
You want like a record scratch?
Well, I'm
Like, and then, like, yes, record scratch.
Something more to the party to the tardy.
And then just straight into, I don't know, just whatever you think, Lucas, because you're young and ready to party on a Friday night. So Lucas will be. So start out with our usual song. Now Lucas is in the studio. He's really going to do something. Oh, your camera's pointed at the door.
Oh, you could have just told me to do that, Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. I hope nothing goes wrong because Lucas is in here with us.
I would have not have disconnected and connected.
Nobody is piloting the boat right now. We are casting direct. There he goes.
You put this camera this close to me?
No, man,
like
people complained I was in high def and you were in low def.
They said they saw that ghost.
Oh, no, people were very upset about that. Like, why is Mickey's camera so clear and Blaine looks like he's 20 feet away? And I responded because he's literally like 20 feet away from his camera. Yeah. So well, now
I
we're
moved,
like 8.
I'm supposed to be in the chair there, but I like this view. I can see the TV. I can see Lucas and you without even moving. Yeah, without even really turning my head. Yeah, I like it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we got to start off and say congratulations. You've made the list. Finally. Bud Adams, about time NFL. That's my shot. About time.
I may have had that written down as well. Yeah.
About time Mr. Adams is on the Hall of Fame list.
It's
really
a
seriously.
Long list of senior semifinalists and like coach and contributor semifinalists got released, and one of those Billy Whiteshoes was on there.
Oh, yep, he was on there. Yeah.
Which me, I was very excited to see.
You know me. Were you calm or were you excited?
No, I was excited. I Twitter searched his name, and like half the references on Twitter of his name are from me. I'm not kidding. My God. When you search his name on Twitter, I come up all over the place.
What?
And multiple times, there's a picture of me and him from the Super Bowl, or he and I, picture of us at the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I'm taller than him.
Yeah.
I like to,
Yeah.
He goes to the Super Bowl every year. He always, if you go to the Super Bowl and interview people, it's like, well, you can interview Blaine Bishop, but he's selling, butter or whatever it is. So they have to talk about their product. He always sells pork rinds.
Oh.
And he gives you a box of pork rinds after the interviews.
Where does he at? Does he live in Houston? Where does he live? I know he finished. Didn't he finish with the Falcons?
He finished with the Falcons, and he lived in Atlanta and worked for the Falcons for a long time. I don't know where he is now. I don't know where he makes his home, but he was
still in Atlanta.
He was around last year and got to speak to the team, and NWI scored a touchdown the week Billy came to visit and did the Billy White shoes.
Alumni weekend, yeah.
I thought I was going to die.
That was much respect. I love that. That was pretty cool. Especially from a young player like that, understanding, who he was and the history and having that kind of respect. That's pretty cool.
So Bud Adams, for people maybe you haven't seen this Hall of Fame semifinalist list, again, it's a bunch of senior nominees. Mm-hmm. It's not the full class, but it's a group of seniors and contributors, I think. So it's 54 people total who are on the semifinalist list. And For people who are like, oh, gosh, Bud Adams. Well, here's the thing.
There would be even an NFL without Bud Adams. People don't understand the history of here. I mean, the AFC. I mean, so it's really
it's
sad
ridiculous that he's not in it, that he didn't, that they didn't do it while he was alive.
Right.
So the people who started the American Football League, what is now the AFC mostly, in 1960 were a bunch of dudes who had some money, like Bud Adams, who wanted an NFL team and couldn't get one. So Lamar Hunt, whose family still owns the Chiefs, and Ralph Wilson, whose family sold the Bills after he died. They auctioned them to the Pagula family, which, by the way, the lady, Kim Pagula, has been real sick. I hope she's doing well. Thoughts and prayers to her. But they bought it from the Wilson family, but the Wilson family owned it into the 20-teens because Mr. Ralph, I think, died in 2014. But the other original ownership family is the Adams family and Bud Adams. So what's funny is another guy agreed to go in with them. They were called the Foolish Club because, like, you guys are fools throwing away your money. You're fools. And they're like, nope. Another guy said, I'll put a team in Minnesota. And the NFL went to that guy and was like, we'll give you a team for NFL. So that's how the Vikings got born in 61 because that guy was going to have an AFL team. They drafted players in 1960. I didn't know this until today, but they never played. There's going to be an AFL Minnesota team. But the NFL came in at the last minute and snaked that guy and was like, no, you get an NFL team. So he got the Vikings. So Lamar Hunt is in the Hall of Fame and has been forever. Ralph Wilson went into the Hall of Fame. The other guy who kept his team out of all those owners over the years, the Sullivan family owned the Patriots for a long time, but everything went bankrupt. Kraft basically bought the Patriots out of at a yard sale. Yeah. But the Adams family still owns the Oilers/Titans. They still own them today. And if you think, okay, well, the Oilers won the first two AFL championships, played for the third, lost in double overtime, then played for a fourth in the 10 years that the AFL existed. And for people who are thinking, like if you're Lucas's age and maybe you're like, okay, AFL, what are you talking about? There had been other football leagues along the way. So the All-American Football Conference had like the Browns and the 49ers, and they merged with the NFL. That's how the NFL got the Browns and the 49ers. So for all the Tom Brady people, like nobody's ever won 7. Otto Graham, the quarterback of the Browns, won 7 championships. He played for a championship all 10 years that he played. He won 7. So he also won 7. Bart Starr had been the other guy. A lot of people know him. He won 5.
But is that seriously considered the NFL?
No, because not all of them were in the NFL. So he won 7 championships professional, but they merged like after his 3rd year into the NFL. So that league got swallowed up by the NFL. They joined. So then later, when the AFL started, and a lot of you know who Al Davis is, even if you're not big historians, because it's Al Davis. Al Davis eventually kind of he didn't own the Raiders in the beginning. He wrestled it away later. He got control, and he didn't own them from the beginning. He was a coach. He got control of the Raiders. And eventually he became commissioner of the AFL, Al Davis. And he said, we're popular on our own. We don't need the NFL.
He was a little bit of a rabble-rouser.
He was a rabble-rouser. Al Davis just said, we did it. We made it. People are interested in us.
We don't need y'all.
We don't need them. We can play them in the Super Bowl or whatever it was called. It was an AFL-NFL championship for, I think, the first 2 years. Lamar Hunt's grandkids named it. They had a Super Bowl that they were playing with, and Lamar Hunt said Super Bowl. So that didn't come until later. It wasn't originally Super Bowl. We had no plans to go down this, but you know me in history.
Yeah.
So Al Davis didn't want to merge, but the other guys basically outvoted him. Al, we have to. We have to. The NFL turned 75 in 1969. So they had roughly a 65-year head start on the AFL. So, you saw me like look at the ceiling. I'm searching out those numbers. They turned 75 and 69, which is ironic because college football turned 100 in 1969. It's 25 years older than than the NFL version of pro football. So the other owners said, no, Al, we have to do this. So they merged. And when we talk about statistics, or if you ever see anything written like this guy has the most rushing yards in any game since the merger, that gets put, it doesn't really anymore, basically NFL history now starts at 1970 because that's when the leagues merged. So this is so crazy. But to get back to Bud Adams, he was one of those original Foolish Club guys. The other two.
And I don't think Bud wanted to go either and merge with him.
He probably didn't. He was kind of a rabble rouser too.
Him and Al was kind of, he was just 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al was just a little more flamboyant, a little more outspoken maybe. But it's really insane that we're even having this conversation in 2022 that Bud Adams, Lamar Hunt, and Ralph Wilson changed the face of the league. The AFL, they threw the ball all over the place. The NFL still ran the ball.
All the guys, Al Davis, all those guys are in.
They're all in, all of them, except for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who started the Chargers and owned the Chargers, I was telling somebody this the other day, they didn't believe me, was Paris Hilton's grandfather, Baron Hilton. And he kept the team until they were the L.A. Chargers in the beginning. Then they went to San Diego.
They would have been the L.A. Hiltons.
Well, I read this today in rabbit holing about Bud Adams. The Hilton Enterprises basically told him, we don't want a football team. You sell it. They pressured him to get out of the business of the NFL. Baron Hilton, Paris Hill's grandfather. And so somebody's like, that can't be right. The age difference. That's Paris Hilton's dad's dad. It's her grandfather. So he lived to be 91. He died 3 years ago. So there's a lot of history with the AFL. The NFL isn't what it is without the AFL. They were the last league to merge with the NFL. Other leagues came along. The World Football League of the mid-'70s, which Memphis had a team, and they tried to pay all these NFL stars to come and bankrupted immediately. Then you had the USFL of the 80s that Blaine and I remember, and I loved watching it. It was a spring league.
Too.
And
that was my actual goal, to make the USFL.
Sure.
Because, I was in middle school.
Sure, when that was happening. But there were Hall of Fame NFL players. Reggie White, all you Tennessee people, in the USFL. Reggie played for the Memphis team. And Donald Trump owned the Generals and tried to talk the other guys, let's go head-to-head, the New Jersey Generals. Let's go head-to-head with the NFL, and we'll merge with them. And that was it. That was a...
Should have never done that.
And for people who don't believe it, because the USFL now is something that comes on, the Ocho or whatever. It's just a cable TV option for you. The USFL was a legit league with legit players that played football in the spring. Yeah. So Sam Mills, who's gone in the Hall of Fame.
Flutie.
Jim Kelly. Bobby Hebert, who played for the Saints. Steve Young. Steve Young played for the L.A. team. So there's so much history tied up.
Dupree.
Billy Joe Dupree. No, he was the tight end for the Cowboys. Marcus Dupree was the running back. Yeah. Sorry, I always say the wrong one when we're talking about this. But Bud Adams and his guys created a league against a league that had a 65-year head start and were so good at what they did and survived somehow that they merged with the NFL, and they're the last league to do it. In 1970, if you're checking the math, is 52 years ago. In the following 5 decades, no league ever came close to merging with the NFL, to my knowledge, and they did it. So Bud Adams needs to be in. I'm glad you said that. And there's 12 minutes of history nobody wanted right there.
Guess what? You just educated all our millions of listeners to that whole Bud Adams, and all I can say is... Great job, Mickey, man. I don't think I could have done that good as
you know me, though. I love that stuff.
I knew you did. That's why I got you going. And I felt like we should start the show, and that's why I had on my shirt with the oil derrick in honor of the late, great Mr. Adams and him getting nominated there. So, yeah, for the Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. So, yeah.
Of all the cool stuff that you ever got to do, to me, if somebody's like, what's the coolest thing Blaine ever did? I'm like, he was an Oiler. You played in the Astrodome and wore that uniform. And I know
that's funny you say that.
You played in the freaking Astrodome and wore that uniform.
Asked me that, and I don't know what I would say if somebody immediately asked me. I don't know if I would have said that.
Oh, what's the coolest thing?
Yeah, what is the coolest thing you got to do?
Super Bowl.
That's planned.
But just take that out. But just the coolest thing, because if you okay, I'm going to Google Blaine, and I'm going to Google. There's all these fantastic pictures of you playing for the Oilers.
Yeah. I don't know. I think naturally the Super Bowl would be on there, but I was a Titan. One thing that was really cool that is kind of underrated from probably a fan point of view, but as a player, is I got to be part of the unveiling of the uniforms of the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really cool and unique. Because guess what? That was only that one time. And then when it happened again and they kind of changed the jerseys, I was part of that transition to give them back. So I've been part of both of them. So I thought that was really unique. Now, naturally, nothing's going to, you start playing in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that was
But
cool.
if you say, okay, take
'Cause
that
I
off
never
the
got
table.
to, I didn't get flown in, been the
Right.
last pick of the draft and, all that, the last round. So yeah, that was those three things kind of stand out, and one of them I wasn't even playing. I was done. So
I remember the uniform reveal. There's pictures of it everywhere. You can go.
There's still one thing on my bucket list though. Look at your eyes getting big before we go to break. People must guess what is one more thing that Blaine wants to do for the organization. I've mentioned it on air numerous times, and it just never came to fruition. So,
all right.
When you come back, that's what Mickey taught me how to tease.
It's
That's
a
what
radio
that was.
tease. And Buck Reising will join us next. That's a tease, too. It's Blaine and Mickey. It is Friday. Thanks for hanging out with us. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. History lessons. Doing that today on a Friday. Buck Reising joining us now, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford, home of the non-commissioned salespeople.
Yeah, I know Buck heard everything you said about the history and us honoring KS Bud Adams for the nomination for the NFL Hall of Fame, right, Buck? I know you were listening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That stuff, the thing
Down the hall?
You guys were talking about.
I propped open the studio door.
Mickey was talking
stuff
about.
with the thing. Was,
hell, we didn't talk about that at all today, did we, buddy?
Yeah, that's why I wore this shirt with the oil derrick in honor of.
Well, that would be necessary to see. This is a knowledge gap for me, obviously. But that's a hugely important thing for the franchise, and it's something that for him, if he were to make it past the stage of voting necessary, it's probably long overdue.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of getting at. And
it's the big three.
Listen,
history lesson.
Get out of here.
The big three in the AFL were Ralph Wilson, Lamar Hunt, and Bud Adams. And Ralph Wilson and Lamar Hunt are both in, and Bud should be in.
Yeah.
So Bud should be in. Yeah. So hopefully that gets fixed this year.
There will be no AFC.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's a completely, I mean all of this stuff gets down to politics, and fortunately in football it's not as media skewed as something like baseball is, where there's so much of the personal feelings about the player or the entity that's going in. Mickey, you speak to this better than I can. Completely bogs down, the best players getting into the Hall of Fame. But certainly for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if you talk about, one conference wouldn't exist without Bud Adams, that guy probably needs to be in.
Blaine left us hanging. We did what's called a radio tease. I know you know about those as well. About his, the one other thing, because I was like, you played in the freaking Astrodome and he's got the Oil Derrick logo on his shirt for people who aren't watching they're listening with their ears on radio. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you actually wore the Oilers uniform, which I think is fantastic. I said, to me, that's the coolest thing. And he goes, well, it's one thing I didn't get to do.
I said, nobody has ever asked me that question. What's the coolest thing?
I said, what do you think the coolest thing was? If you throw out playing in the Super Bowl, because that's the coolest thing for everybody. Yeah. So he named a couple of things. Then he said, okay, when we come back, I'll say the one thing that I never got to do. So what do you think that would be? We'll incorporate you into this.
Did you hear the things that I said?
No, he wasn't listening.
Well, with the jersey unveiling when they became the Titans. Yeah. And then handing it over to the new group.
I've seen the pictures.
Because that's something you don't kind of put in your mind that you'll get a chance to do. So I really appreciate that.
They really did that well with all you guys out there.
That was pretty cool, whoever came up with that thought and to do it that way.
Jersey reveal, playing in a Super Bowl. 2 jersey reveals playing in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Playing both in the AFC and the NFC.
And I've said this on air a couple times.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about a long window here.
It's been about a decade for him.
24 hours ago.
About a decade for him.
I mean, if it's not the Super Bowl, you've had a long career in 2 different kinds of places where you would be doing
just a random
cool
guess.
Stuff.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Well, here's what I've said it on there a couple times in the draft. The next time the Tennessee Titans or Tennessee has the draft, I want to.
Oh, you want to do a pick?
Their last pick.
You want to do the last pick?
Because I was the last round.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I want to do the last round. I mentioned on there when they had it here, but I kind of waited till that week.
Who did they have? Who from the Titans?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Organization, because McAfee did a Colts pick.
Too.
You mean here?
Yeah. Did Keith?
Eddie George made a pick because he wore Steve's jersey.
He did number 1. Yeah.
He got everybody in their fields that day.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember who else did it besides.
Because I mean, they had Marcus out there on the stage with Eddie.
Celebrity person. I forgot.
I'm sure they probably.
We just need to send you to do it next year in Kansas City.
I think I'm a good time.
We got credentials. We'll break you in.
I think I'm gonna just run up on the stage and announce their pick and steal the envelope.
People still make picks for teams
from the sheriff.
Who is this bleep hole from the Vikings? The Blue Mountain State guy that apparently has. Lucas, you know who I'm talking about?
Bleep hole.
What's his name?
The old dude that went on the rant for the Vikings pick.
And they played him off like you guys do with callers.
No, he's on Good Morning Football.
No.
That was him.
No.
Yes, him.
I know him as the coach of Blue Mountain State. Apparently, he played in the NFL, played for the Vikings.
Oh, no.
And he went on this whole... Lucas, if you could look up the name for me, that would be swell.
I had no idea the coach from Blue Mountain State played in the NFL.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. So... you just be like that guy. That guy completely hijacked the draft stage for
Ed Marinaro.
Oh, Ed Marinaro he went to an Ivy League school, and he played for the Vikings and had like a brief NFL career. Then he was
Cornell.
on, then he was on Hill Street Blues. He was a bigger TV actor than he ever was as an NFL player.
Right, and nobody told him that people didn't know that outside of the people who have Netflix and watch Blue Mountain State. So, point being,
Ed Marinaro, yeah.
if
Well, I mean,
that
that
guy
was
can
their
hijack the
organization.
draft for 25 minutes or whatever, Blaine, we can sneak you
Maybe
up on the
Colgate?
stage.
Did he go to Colgate?
Cornell. And he was runner-up. He was
Run
runner-up
up
in
to
the
the Heisman.
to
Yeah.
Pat Sullivan. I had no idea.
That guy stunk.
Pat Sullivan, Auburn quarterback.
I was so mad at that dude. And that brave NFL executive that had to get up
Cornell.
on the stage and literally give him the hook.
Yeah.
Like, sir, you have to get off the stage. Blaine, we can get you out there.
Yeah, man.
100%.
I'll blame it on you guys.
Hell
that-
yeah.
100% that's happening now.
They
we
made
put that
me
in the
do it.
universe.
They had a gun to my head, man.
Buck Reising, our guest. The Titans need to add a wide receiver before training camp.
Sure. I mean, sure.
Who's the clubhouse leader then in the Buck Reising GM?
Oh, God help me. It's probably going to be like Josh Malone or something like that.
I mean, they added him already.
Well, point being is I think that they are, and listen, they get the benefit of the doubt, but they seem to be comfortable with the personnel that they have, not having any knowledge of what the wide receivers are asking for. Like, we haven't seen a wide receiver deal since like Tajay Sharp. Did Tajay go to the Bears or something like that? Like, Tajay signed a contract towards the end of like the second, like the post-draft free agency.
It was with the Vikings, right?
I'll look it up now. But basically,
without Ed Marinaro.
we saw a couple of different he's on the Bears right now. So
this year. I thought you were talking about when he left here.
no, this year. I'm just talking about like,
Then he went to the Falcons, and
Chiefs.
the post-draft free agency wave that we kind of didn't expect them to participate really in anyway because they had that money kind of tied up in Julio. Then we got to June, and I got on here and said, I don't necessarily expect them to go on some kind of June spending spree.
Right,
Just because they have this money available, there are certain things that money is going to be applied to that don't require you moving around more money. And like the guys out on the market, we have all talked about, all four of our shows in some form or fashion have talked about Will Fuller for countless hours that none of us will get back.
We talked about him today walking in.
Please do not say Will Fuller.
Blaine does not want him and his balky hamstring.
He's not dependable. We just went through that.
The most important, and that's Blaine's exactly right. And why I don't think that he makes sense here is the most important thing that you can have as a football player is the trust and dependability of your coaches and your teammates. You cannot trust Will Fuller to be available on a regular basis. They could not trust Julio Jones to be available on a regular basis. You can be well-intended. You can have all the talent in the world. And if you can't damn play, it doesn't matter. And Will Fuller, even if last year was a hand injury as opposed to a hammy, which has perpetually been an issue for him, it's still a track record of dependability issues, and that's something that they cannot afford to go through again. I think that they still probably need some help if Traylon's going to be a slower burn than I think any of us would like for him to be. But how they go about doing that, whether that starts to once we get through preseason games and cuts start coming down, you find cost-effective solutions. I just don't think we're going to come into camp in 19 days and there's going to be another wide receiver sitting there waiting for us to talk to him.
We're talking to Buck Reising. He joins us this same time most every Friday.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Josh Malone. Is that where we're at and he had a good, mini camps and OTAs and everything else. And he's a local kid, so we always want to cheer for those guys. And he did a heck of a job. But I'm wondering, why was he available? Like, what is it? Because when you go out there and watch him, you go, well, dang, man, he's long, he's athletic, he's fast, he was jumping over people, making plays. So I'm trying to figure out, like, he's been on, 3 different teams before the Titans?
At least. He
Jets,
was drafted by Cincinnati, had a couple of seasons with the Jets, and then, he was out the league last year.
So is there something that we're missing? Because when I see him, I go, well, dang, man, this guy should have been contributing at least to somebody's roster, at worst case scenario, third guy.
He's never really panned out. Kind of looking around, like it's not just like there's been a small sample size of games that he's started. He's only started 7 games since he's been in the league since 2017. He's only played in 26 total since he's been in the league in 2017.
So then he started 7 games with the Bengals?
7 games with the Bengals his rookie year. And that was like the down bad Bengals. That was not Marvin Jones, AJ Green Bengals. That was different.
But what I'm getting at is we're dependent on him to be the savior if Burks doesn't pan out sooner than later. When I say that means, let's say he's injured or he can't get into this type of shape, or he's not on the field enough to contribute early in the season. So now we're banking on a player who's been in the league, who shows promise, but for whatever reason,
training camp all-star.
Right. He hasn't shown any production in a regular season game. So to me, now that leads you down the road to Dez.
Well, and
that's
the roster spot that's being competed over. Malone or Des Fitzpatrick is probably what it's going to come down to, depending on what Racing McMath's special teams value is. Right. And again, the Treylon Burks thing is an anomaly that we can't really quantify right now. I don't necessarily think that puts the onus on Josh Malone, even as he is competing for a bottom-of-the-roster spot at that position. I think it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on Robert Woods, who's coming off a surgically repaired knee, and that's a lot to ask, even as that player has shown himself to be dependable, to be trustworthy. And by the way, I think that it's an important part of the discussion around the Tennessee Titans. They need legitimate options at wide receiver. But I think the help that quarterback is going to get from the tight end specifically is going to take a lot of the burden off the wide receiver position, a lot of the pressure that we're talking about. Because I think they're going to get a little more back to form in some of those 2 tight end sets, whether it's 12 or whether it's 21 and you got a tight end in the backfield, like whatever that looks like, they're going to be able to do more of those things because, in theory, they'll be more available. Not something you can bank on.
And I'm glad you said that because, obviously, that's what they're going to do. They're going to ride the tight ends a little bit more.
They have to.
Tight ends move the chains unless you have a special tight end. They're not going to change the game and make a difference. So now you don't have the big play ability because nobody like A.J. Brown is on the roster. Yeah. Now, name me a team in the last 5 years that's won a Super Bowl with that kind of philosophy.
In the last 5 years...
And we were talking about the Ravens, people who are relying on the run game and the tight end to win Super Bowl.
It's almost cheating to use the Bucs because the Bucs had the thing that made Tampa Bay special.
They have Evans. Come on, now. They can't even be in the conversation.
No, but Blaine, here's the only reason why I bring it up is because I think the thing that made the Bucs special outside of having Brady is they had the personnel to be able to do various different types. You could go 3 wide with the wide receivers.
That's my whole point.
You had the tight ends to go 2 tight.
That's my point. So we just talking about the tight end.
No, it's just the one.
As a former defensive back,
not since the Patriots probably with Gronk and Hernandez.
About the offensive passing game, nothing.
No, not the deep passing game. Certainly not.
Nothing.
But here's
and that's not good enough. You got to have at least one guy. So then everybody.
And Robert Woods does not take the top off.
No.
But those guys aren't out there.
But I mean,
he's a playmaker in space.
Yeah.
So looking, because you are correct in saying that, and that's something Greg and Cosell and I have talked about before. It's something I've talked about. Certainly with you guys and with a lot of people around football. Is at what point did they evolve themselves into, if not a modern NFL passing game, a more modern version of whatever the hell it is that they are in 2022, right? Because that explosive play element that they. I mean, I remember
that's
talking about.
That's why Burks has to be the guy because you see he has the ability. You go back and watch him. You go, well, this guy's got.
Yeah, they don't have another choice. They don't have another choice.
He's got to be ready by the beginning of the training camp.
There is no question. There is no question. And listen, as they get more comfortable personnel-wise, Blaine, you could speak to this better than I. They're going to do a lot more of the basic Titans stuff. It's going to be 2 tight ends. It's going to be a lot of running the football. It's going to be a lot of playing defense because they need to win those games, but it's not, okay, I need to outgun you in a playoff game. You have to show that ability. You have to be capable of that. But as 5 new starters theoretically on offense get comfortable with one another, you're going to see a lot more of the Titans football that we are accustomed to seeing, the things that we know they do well with theoretically upgraded personnel. Yeah, it's a concern. But for me, the thing that I have to see from them early that's going to make me feel better about them until we know what Burks is, just stay the hell out of 3rd and long. They are not equipped to play that way. And that was the thing I think that was so damning for them last year. You lead the league in 1st and 10 runs. You lead the league in 2nd and 7+ yard runs. You're playing in 3rd and long consistently, and you don't have a just pure drop back passing game equipped to do that. If they can make headway, 5-yard passes, 7-yard passes with the tight ends and just stay out of the damn 3rd and long as often as they were, I will feel more confident about their ability to build off that while they get Burks up to speed.
I guess lastly for me then, who are you more fascinated to watch their development? And I'm going to just stay on the offensive side. I'm going Burks or Willis.
Well, wow, that's a good one.
I stopped Buck.
Well, because I can't say both.
You're thinking. I mean,
you're
asking
thinking one or the other.
Can't say both.
I've seen development from Willis in more concrete ways than I've seen it from Burks, so I guess the answer would be Burks because I haven't seen it yet. Like, I've seen what they're working on with Malik at practice. I've seen the implementation of that over the better part of a month and a half. I have not seen Traylon Burks on the field for very long at all.
That's not funny.
So I laughed. I think the answer would be Traylon Burks because I have yet to see that kind of progress.
And there you have it. Buck Reising from the Buck Reising Show right before the Blaine and Mickey Show.
That's right. Do you think there's a possibility they throw it less than they did last year?
Oh God, no, they can't. I mean, I need to look at some numbers.
No, tell him the rankings.
Or you have like passing attempt rankings in the NFL handy?
We talked a little bit about
everything under the sun here.
I was about to say, what is the sheet that you have in front of you?
Oh, just lots of things that I carry from show to show.
What is
the Titans were 25th in the NFL in pass attempts last year. They were 1st in rush attempts. Only 3 other teams had 500 or more rush attempts: Eagles, Ravens, Saints. So only 3 teams ran the ball more. The Titans were 24th in passing offense last year while attempting the 25th amount of pass attempts.
I bet the attempts is probably still in the mid to high 20s, but I would say that the passing offense would improve. I mean, listen, we've seen them play their best when you limit Ryan Tannehill's passing attempts, but that also accounts for an explosive play element that they had in 19 and 20 that fell off the face of the damn earth in 2021. Like, they got no juice in plays 20-plus yards down the field, and it's something that I don't necessarily, as Blaine mentioned, I don't see a solution on the roster outright without Traylon Burks clearly and obviously available and ready to play at a level that is fair to expect of a first-round pick. But yeah, I'd 25th, between 22 and 25th in the league as far as passing attempts, I would say is probably on brand. I would imagine that they're going to be more competent as a passing offense this year.
We should ask them about the defense now. What's the expectations of the defense? Where do you think they'll be positioned in
Beat
this
the
league?
holy hell out of every quarterback that you're going to be playing against because you paid way
Top
too
5
much
defense?
money. I don't know about a top 5, like total defense. I bet they're a top 5 scoring defense. I bet they're a top 5 scoring defense. Like yardage, I don't get bent out of shape about like total yardage just because you're playing so many of these damn
what
quarterbacks.
About versus the run versus the pass?
I mean, weren't they best in the league against the run last year?
I think second.
They were one of the best. So I would say top 5 rushing defense, and I would say probably a top 10 passing defense just because you're going to give up yards.
They got a long way to go to get in the top. They were 25th in pass defense last year. They were 2nd versus the run.
Was that surprising to you?
25th.
That was surprising a little bit for me.
No, not
because they had a lot of corners that were.
You had a lot of attrition at corner, right? I mean, you gave up explosive plays at a greater rate than you had been in the past couple of years. Like, even as they play a defense, they play that 2-shell defense to make sure that they can't get beaten over the top like that, which a lot of teams do. Now, 25th does sound a hell of a lot lower than I would have anticipated. But, I mean, they went from 19, again, sacks aren't the end-all, be-all, and I went back and watched that Mike Vrabel Bengals press conference again, where he's spitting at David Beauclair. Oh, you guys, all you wanted to know was about sacks last year. Maybe we had too many sacks after they lost to the Bengals, which made me laugh out loud. But they went from 19 sacks total in making the postseason to 43 sacks with a Bud Dupree on one leg for basically half the year. I think they can be substantially better as a pass rush with now role players, not just Ola Adeni, but you're adding Rashad Weaver to the mix. I don't necessarily know it's a fair expectation to say Danico Autry is again going to do those things, but I think he can be close and still be a hugely productive player.
But Dupree has to step up. Those numbers have to translate back with the contract.
Bud has to play better. But the second half of the season, I felt great about what he was able to give them. I really did feel good about like that Pittsburgh game on when he physically picked up 2 offensive linemen and just pushed them over into Ben Roethlisberger. Like you felt good about the explosion and the burst that he had down the stretch. And I expect Bud to be able to contribute at a higher level.
When you say down the stretch, what was his numbers in the stretch?
I would have to pull that up. I can do that.
I thought he played better, but it didn't translate to actually statistics. I can't recall that he.
No, there was some kind of correlation about Bud being more available, but that not necessarily.
But the team looked better.
They looked better cohesively. They were able to run those games more efficiently. It looks better with Bud than it did with Ola.
And he got more attention than anybody else or him on one leg once he started to play better to give the other guys more opportunity.
Sure, he looked more like Bud Dupree is supposed to look. The thing that I would be
10 sacks. He's got to get 10.
For what he's making 10
double digits is fair. I think double digit sacks is fair. I would say though, I don't feel great about the secondary.
All right, Lucas says we got to go. We'll pick this up next Friday with Buck Reising. Bowling event coming up. What do people need to know?
1045thezone.com. Are you guys coming?
We got to get invited.
I put everybody in a group text.
Whoa.
Slay's green dot.
You should have saw that look he gave.
I know, we got a text.
Don't you come at me.
Laser beams coming out of
Well, because I felt bad asking my work friends, hey, man, I'm throwing a party. Here's a ticket. Buy one. But Rhett is also looking at us. Oh, Rhett wasn't in the group text.
I didn't get invited.
Rhett wasn't in the group text.
Well, Buck's got some making up to do with people.
1045thezone.com. We're throwing a party for an incredible charity. It's the church at Mount Carmel. They run free summer camps for kids who are not in financially stable situations. They do it all off donations. It's a really cool church that's right around the corner from my house in North Nashville. And it's a great venue. Brooklyn Bowl, you're going to get food, booze, the ability to hang out with maybe Blaine and Mickey, maybe Rhett Bryan, for sure Ramon Foster, Coach Mack, Darren Bates, a bunch of our other show friends are coming. So I hope to see a lot of people out there. 1045thezone.com.
Only if Darren brings his boombox. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
We get to shave your mustache. You didn't invite Rhett Bryan.
We'll be back. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We're talking about history of different football leagues earlier. I just saw this. Billy Jones said Fred McNair played quarterback in the USFL, the original Air McNair. I knew he played in the Arena League, but I didn't know. I'm just now getting a chance to look at the Zone TV chat here. I didn't remember that Steve's brother had played in the USFL. Now, he may have. I knew he played arena football for a long time. He was the original Air McNair, was Fred. You probably met Fred around the team with Steve. Yeah, I'm sure he was around some. So we got into this discussion with Buck Reising, and one of the questions I had asked him was, do you think the Titans will throw the ball less this year than they did last year?
That led into your tweet today that you had.
Yep. And so I asked a question about how do you guys, because the other thing we asked him, and I written down this question a couple of weeks ago, we finally got to it. I said, do you think the Titans should bring another wide? He goes, yes. I mean, he jumped all over that question, asking, do you think the Titans need to bring another wide receiver in to compete for this roster? We asked the question about how do you feel about, this is on Blaine and Mickey Twitter. You can still answer it. You got time. How do you feel about the Titans passing offense for this season? There are 4 different answers that you can go to. And John is on the line. I'll get John in just a minute because I think he's wanting to go back to the NFL history stuff we were talking about earlier. John, hold. I'll get you in just a second. How do you feel about the Titans passing offense for this season? Great, let's roll was one. Fairly optimistic, not so good, and I have genuine concerns. First place, fairly optimistic, 50.4%. Second place, not so good, 29.6%. I have genuine concern is 13.9%. Only 6.1% of the Titans fans polled on this poll say, great, let's roll. You brought this up to Buck. Buck answered it. You and I saw what we saw when the Titans were practicing this spring. I mean, this is 3 people who have seen some things and can't really talk, a lot about everything that we saw and who did what and where they lined up. But I think if you ask all of us, are the Titans going to be really involved this year? I think we would all go 100% yes.
If they want to win.
and it could be in different ways. So it's not just like 3 guys on a line of scrimmage. Maybe they'll be creative. We have yet to see, the Tim Kelly influence on this offense. But by all accounts, Derrick Henry's got 2 good feet again. I mean, is it possible they just ramp it up and try to do the exact same thing again? And they're, first in rush attempts and they're 25th in pass attempts again? Are you ready to look at that again for another year?
Well, here's what I can say.
Okay.
As I say about every year is a new year as an individual player, so do the coaches look at what they did the year before. And if you're not trying to evolve and be better than last year in whatever version you want to be in your style, you're gonna get caught lost in the dust because everybody else is now beating the bush to plan to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
You were the king of the hill, the AFC. I mean, at the end of the day, as far as record-wise. So in that philosophy, with running the football versus all the passing and kind of controls the clock, I think that is a recipe to winning games in the regular season. I just don't know if you have enough. That's why I asked Buck. That hit me. I didn't even have that written. That hit me while I'm sitting there talking to him. But is that enough? Because the expectation is Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Because you got these players. I mean, at this time. That's why I think you need a playmaker. Maybe that person steps up as the season goes along outside of Tannehill and the King. But at some point, maybe it'll be different people. But we need somebody who kind of say, hey, man, this guy's legit. And I think Burks has the talent. We just got to keep him on the field and at practice so he can get there.
The Titans open against the Giants on September 11th. The Titans open here against the Giants. If you were captain in the Giants defense, what are you going to do on the first play of the game? How many people are you going to have in the box? Everybody?
Yeah. So that should make it theoretically easier for your wide receivers. They're one-on-one. And the way this league is built, I mean, one-on-one is you can have a guy covered and he's still not covered. The way they throw the ball, the way they call pass interference and everything like that. I just don't know if you have that game breaker guy who can catch a pass for 12, 15 yards and turn it into 60. So we shall see. but that person has to emerge. And I'm not saying it can't be a different player, but I just don't have faith when you're talking about Woods, NWI, that those are the guys that we're leaning on. And now we're already throwing in, if Burks is not ready, then Malone, who through his resume hasn't shown in this league. Not to say that he can't, but we haven't seen it. So until we see it by all those guys on a consistent basis, I think there's always going to be a feel of that. And I think this goes into why they rank our team, and I say our because I was a former Titan, the Titans low on the 22 for the roster
strength, yeah.
Because they got 2 offensive linemen that are being replaced, and now you got really theoretically a stud wide receiver that you don't really know who's going to replace him, if anybody, for big play ability. So I think that's why that's happening. And until they show that they can win that way, it's the only way you're going to get respect. So they better come out guns a-blazing. Because the Giants, it's new coach, new staff, still a lot of players that want to prove that they can play in this league and pretty good, and they are in the NFL. I'm glad it's at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad it's at home.
Let's take a quick phone call because I think John's tried to check in a couple times on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. John, thanks for calling. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
The history of the AFL y'all were talking about, if you'll go to YouTube and look at Color of Football, it's a documentary that was done by one of the I think it's HBO maybe, but it goes through all of that.
Yeah.
It is really, really good.
What's it called again?
The Color of Football.
Oh, the Color of Football. Okay, got you. Cool, will
And
do.
I mean, it can't beat it. It's a lot of historical things. And it really has a lot of praise for the 2 men that really helped everything together.
Go.
John, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I remember that coming out. I can't remember if NFL Network did it or ESPN. It would be one of those two. They were the 2 that would do it. But yeah, I'll absolutely go check that out. I do remember that coming out, and for some reason, I think I may even have it saved on my DVR somewhere. I need to go and look. I know we need to take a break. When we come back, the Predators did something like the Titans. David Poyle pulled a John Robinson. I'll tell you how he did it. Next.
It is 2 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Preds 2022 NHL draft class is in the books, taking 6 total prospects, 2 right wingers, 2 centers, and 2 defensemen, including the number 17 overall pick, 18-year-old forward Joakim Kemell from Finland, who was projected to be a top 10 pick. The Preds also made a move for an extra third-round pick, moving center Luke Kunin to San Jose, and acquiring forward John Leonard and San Jose's third-round pick. Nashville Soccer Club hits the road again this weekend, headed to Charlotte, a 6 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. NSC is currently in a playoff spot at 6th place in the Western Conference. And the Atlanta Braves, after dropping the final game of the Cardinals series 3-2 last night, go back to divisional play, taking on the last-place Nationals. First pitch tonight at 6:20. Braves, 3.5 games back of the Mets in the NL East. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is after 2 o'clock on Friday. You are running downhill towards the weekend right now, and you got another roughly hour of time to spend with us today, and we appreciate that.
Then you go and you leave work after that.
Yeah, and listen to 3HL on the way home. So your day is just planned. Yeah, usually I tell people leave work. I'll say this. If you're listening online, don't. Just sit there and keep listening. But then if you feel like in a commercial break, you could like rush out and get in your car and catch the full commercial break, right? And then the rest of the show, then do that.
I'm talking about leave at 3 and then listen to 3HL.
Yeah, just on your drive home.
3HL.
Oh, okay. I like that kind of party. Preds made their first round pick last night. I know
I got it wrong or right?
they called him Joakim Kemell. Joakim. Joakim Kemell.
Oh, I kept thinking of the player
Joakim.
played for the Florida Gators.
Joakim, I believe.
Yes, you were saying Joaquin.
I was
right?
saying Joakim like Phoenix.
Do you have the audio that I sent you of the Preds making the pick into the scouting report?
See, this is why I can't ever pronounce people's names.
So
it's just random.
the
You can
Preds-
pronounce it how you want to.
However you want to. Usually it's just best like ask the guy, how do we say your name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Jared Garantano, who made it 4 years in. It was like, actually, y'all been saying my name wrong. We said it wrong because you never corrected us. It's actually Garantano. Remember that? Garantano.
That same with Vescovy, right? Santiago Vescovy.
Yes, but he didn't wait 4 years to tell people
He
that.
waited 2.
So have you got this?
My last name is Bishop.
My name is Mikey. So people call me Mikey. If I go anywhere and they're like, we need your name for the order, I'm like, Mickey. So they either spell it, oh boy, it's either spelled like M-I-Q-X-Y. If you were just going to spell Mickey, wouldn't you spell it the Mickey Mouse way?
Yes,
People have
would.
invented so many stupid ways to spell my name. And then even if they spell it right, M-I-C-K-E-Y, I'll get to the end of the line, they'll be like, Mikey? Mikey? That's not the way you spell Mikey. Or the worst is you go to a drive-thru or whatever, you go somewhere and they need your name. And it's like, I need a name for the order. I'm like, Mickey. They're like, all right, Ricky, drive on around. Or it's like,
Ricky?
Mickey. They're like, okay, Dickie, drive on around. And so now I'm like Mickey, like Mickey Mouse.
Oh, I just start saying my last name.
Ryan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan.
Okay, I'm going to start doing that. Then I'll be less frustrated.
Brian? All right, yeah, pull around, Brian.
Okay, Brian, we'll see you see you around the corner, Brian.
Okay, see you in a minute.
See, okay, Brian. BRXQIYN. So this is, I told you, I teased on the other side. We're just radio teasing the fire out of you guys today. How is this a draft pick like John Robinson? How did David Poyle embrace his inner John Robinson? So this is the draft show on ESPN. He gets picked, and then
I just figured it out.
Then they go into the analysis of why is he available at 17. Here you go, Lucas Panzica.
Always hurt.
Nashville Predators select from JYP in Finland, Joakim Kemell.
Joakim. Dwight Joakim Kemell.
So there it is, Nashville at 17, Joakim Kemell, right winger out of Finland, known to have a great shot. And he actually was third in goals at the Helenka Gretzky Cup A player that a lot of people thought maybe even would have gone a bit higher than 17, no?
And if he didn't get injured, I think that's what we'd be looking at, someone who was in the top 10. For the first month and a half of the season, he was leading Liga in scoring. And if you go back to the great Finnish players in their first year of draft eligibility, typically that success translates to the National Hockey League. If you want to think about Rantanen or Barkov, these types of players. So when he was leading the league at that point, you thought, wow, this guy's unbelievable with what he's doing at 17 years old. And then he got injured, shoulder issues. He wasn't really good at the World Juniors because he wasn't completely healthy. Then the World Juniors get canceled, and he's kind of hanging around. He finally gets back, and he can't pick up the same pace that he had previous to the injury. But then he goes to the under-18s, proves to everyone, okay, everything's okay now. I'm back to being the guy that was a top 10 pick before the injury.
I had the pleasure of watching him live, several viewings at the under-18s. Big overtime goal versus Team Canada, carried the team on his back to get them into the medal round and beyond.
So there you go. Dwight Yoakam Kimmel. He said Yoakam, like Dwight. So that'll be his nickname. He'll be Dwight.
I focused too much on how to pronounce his last name in my prep. It was Kimmel. Is it Kimmel? But it's Kimmel. So
It's Kimmel, like Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
So he's Kimmel. Dwight Yoakam Jimmy Kimmel.
I sacrificed the
now no
pronunciation
one will
of his
forget.
first name.
Oh, man, you're supposed to be our...
I know.
You're literally the show's linguist.
I know. I let everybody
now
down.
we're screwed because you definitely can't depend on me and Mickey.
I can pronounce now. Can you pronounce the team that he played for?
Where would
He
we
played
see
for
that?
Ivaskula in Finland.
He was evacuated.
How's it spelled?
There's like an umlaut over some letter and a circle in the air and all kinds of stuff, right? There's like consonants where they don't belong.
Yes, it is. It looks like a gorgeous city, by the way. I did a little bit of research on it earlier today. He played for Jyväskylä. It is spelled Jyvaskylä. Jyväskylä.
So
I definitely wouldn't even
if you
know
go
how to
there and
start
fall
that
in
off.
love with the town, you've been evacuated.
It looks beautiful. I'm telling you. I need to go
Did
to
you see
Finland.
his? By the way, that was from SN in Canada, not ESPN. I'm sorry, SN, which is I guess Sports Network of Canada. Did you see that kid's family?
Family.
Did you his family? Did you see?
They were excited.
His dad looks the same age he does. His mom looks like, I don't know, just a supermodel. Then he had two sisters, and one was taller than him, and then the other, they're both blonde and blue eyes. Anyway, that this kid's family was like, oh my gosh, look at these super people, this super group of people that
All
he's
of them
from.
tall.
Oh my gosh, all blonde and tall, all of them.
Except him.
Except him. He's
Yeah,
just
he's the short one.
He's only like taller than the little sister.
That was the biggest knock on him. Maybe a reason why he fell so far to 17.
Did you see who his comp was? By a lot of people.
I did not see his comp.
Victor Arvidsson.
Oh.
Now he's got to be bigger than Arvidsson. Arvidsson was,
He's
but
tiny.
like throw himself into people. So you heard the Sports Network, the SN announcer saying he started the season. Basically, he had like 12 goals in 16 games. Then he hurt his shoulder. Then he missed all of November. So he came back in December and he wasn't quite the same. So they're finishing there. And this is what he's 18. Lucas playing with grown
he's
adults
18.
in Finland. So then he goes and he plays on like the under 18 Finnish national team. Well, then Stella got her groove back because my man starts scoring again like in the international games.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how does that translate to
like
the NHL? Because I feel like, well, just not knowing much about how they go about their business in the
it's some
scouting
business,
department.
all right.
I mean, if it's under 18, isn't he supposed to dominate them? Like, I mean, really? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
And he did. He went there and he did that.
If
So-
you're that kind of player, your first round pick of the NHL draft.
Yeah, the U18 Junior World Championship, he led Finland in
So
scoring.
I don't
And he
qualify
also-
to say that means he's back, though, as
Right.
he just said.
Probably
then he
not gonna
played in the U20 games and had like a goal in 3 games for the 20 and under
Oh,
team.
okay, there we go.
So he did spend some time. He played up as well with the older group. But if you looked at all the rankings and everything, most everybody had him as a top 10 player. So, and all the hockey rankings. So, that reminded me so much of what John Robinson does. I'm
He
firmly
got great value.
That's it.
For where they picked him at 17.
I'm firmly convinced when it comes to first round picks, because now the Panda thing, I don't know, just throw that out. I have no idea where that came from. They needed an offensive lineman, and he had a great laugh. I remember that being what they said about him. But Caleb Farley, Big Jeff, if a guy has a top 5 level talent rating and they can get him at 15 or 18 or 22 or wherever, then okay, they're just going to take him.
Yeah, definitely. Panda was not a top 5, 10.
He was not. I think they just needed offensive linemen. And if you look at the guys who got taken after him for a long – because I remember thinking, they should have taken – and then I started looking, I'm like, it was kind of slim pickings for a while because he was like picked, 28 or 29, or he was way down the line in the first round. Maybe he was just the highest rated guy that they had. But when you're talking about, Caleb Farley, who went to college as a receiver and had multiple back surgeries and a torn ACL, but boy, he's top level, this high talent. And the same for Big Jeff.
I hope Big Farley does great in the preseason. See, I said preseason. I want him to be phenomenal. I want him to be so special that they trade him. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So phenomenal they trade because you think McCreary's like, put your boy out there. Let me go.
Nope. I want him to play so great that people's like, dang, he is what we thought we were. We go say, yep, here, you can have him.
Before something else bad happens?
Exactly. Exactly. That same philosophy you just talked about. I got him that way. This one was no. I wanted to play great. And then, man, he looks really good. I know. You want him? Third round pick?
Third round pick?
I'm talking about he better dominate. I want him to look good. If he dominates, they're not going to trade him. But I want him to look good. I do. Because it makes me think about what pieces do they have to trade in preseason. I think a preseason trade is going to happen. That's another shot of mine today.
For a receiver, you mean, maybe?
I don't know. I'm hoping it is. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Just to get another pick or a player,
You said all along, because I was like, they need another receiver. You're like, they're not going to have another one now. They're going to let these guys get all these reps.
Want the development.
They're going to let all these guys.
I get it.
Josh Malone's going to get a bunch of reps. They're all going to get reps, and they did. And you're like, if they do, it'll be like once they come back to camp. Let me ask you this. Do you think they look at, because they got, for people who don't know, not only do they scout college players, they got guys in rooms who scout pro players from other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're looking at like, well, okay, that guy's probably going to get cut because he makes too much. That guy's going to get cut because they drafted 2 receivers and signed for it. Do you think they're looking at some of these guys are going to be available and they're better than what's on the market right now?
Oh, possibly, because it's all projection, and sometimes that change based off of maybe somebody gets injured, and that weighs it. Oh, they got to keep him now. So, but yeah, I think they kind of project out. I think a lot of GMs and their scouting department have a good feel for what's going on, especially as cuts gets closer to that deadline. I think they really, to a T, almost know everyone who's going to. Veteran players who may get cut. Yeah, so they may be waiting for that, and then they know what they get. Whether it's a good player, just an okay player, but a depth piece that they know is dependable. I think that's where we're at now, because I just don't know what you're going to get out of some of these young guys, and I don't know if they really know, and I don't even know if, like Fitzpatrick, if he's even going to be a quality third receiver in this league.
If I told you right now we have to go to Las Vegas and we're going to bet that Fitzpatrick plays in every game this season, would you bet no, he doesn't, or yes, he does? Plays in every game. Plays. Just that he plays in every game. Fitzpatrick.
The way the roster's constructed right now.
He may have to.
Yeah, he got to dress. He could be the 5th guy. He may not even dress. I don't know. We talking about Phillips. Man, I like what I saw about, a lot of those. He just looked okay. He looked better than last year, which, it's a year past.
If there's a game tomorrow, do you trust him more or Mason Kinsey more?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I like what I saw of Mason Kinsey.
You did.
I did.
And he can return punts.
I liked his little swag about him. One thing that was clear to me, and I'm real big on body language, because Lucas's, language, body.
Mm-hmm.
That dude walks around like, hey, man, Julio go, I'm that dude. He walks around like that. I like that. And he go execute. I like how he runs his routes. He's a tough little son of a gun, man. I think he could, be a little productive more than people think. Like, I want to see Kyle Phillips walk around like that. I didn't see that. I saw a guy that potentially could get there, but he's not there yet. Mason Kinsey's ahead of him. That's what I saw.
He's still here, still competing.
That's one thing he definitely does.
He went to rookie minicamp. He was able to go because he had X amount. He's only played like one or two games.
Guy, sure-handed, tough, good route runner. Hey, man, that guy's going to be, even if it's practical, he's going to be on this roster some way, somehow.
All right, some way, somehow, when we come back, Lucas has breaking Vol news. We will even play the BBBS, the Blaine Bishop breaking news sounder, because we have Vol's news next on Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Just a shot in the dark here, but I think we're about to hear the news sounder for some Vols news. Is that right? Did you hit the button twice, or is that the length of that?
No, that's the length of it.
I like it, yeah.
Over some Ozzy Osbourne.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Everything.
Urgent news. George Clinton is playing at Soho.
I saw that tour, actually. The Bark at the Moon, and then I saw the Ultimate Sin tour, which that was that one. Okay. Who have we got?
Tennessee has picked up a commitment from four-star offensive tackle Sham Umarov out of Alpharetta, Georgia, of the class of 2023's 247 Sports Composite rating, the number 31 offensive tackle in the country, the number 34 player in the state of Georgia. This is one day after picking up four-star athlete Cam Seldon, who will be playing likely wide receiver for Tennessee, also class of 2023.
What high school did he go to?
Oh, you're asking Umarov?
Oh, Lyman, yeah.
He Denmark High School.
Oh, yeah, that's a newer one. It's probably about 15. Denmark, yeah, that's out there now.
And you lived in Georgia, so anytime we start talking about you typically know all these places.
They built that at the end. Actually, a good friend of mine's kid went there to receiver. He's at UAB.
Was that anywhere near where your car got jacked?
No, that was down by the airport, bro. That was going to the airport.
But you needed a toothbrush,
trying to save on the price of a toothbrush and body wash, man. I could not be here today.
That wound up costing you several $1,000s to do that.
No, it sure has got me, man. They tracked that thing down in a hot minute.
But the wheels gone, like the steering wheel and the catalytic converter?
It was sitting on crates, and it was ripped out the TVs and everything. I was like, how did they do that? It's so fast.
Like a pit crew.
Yeah, like they were like they were at the freeway. I mean, speedway. Good Lord. Yeah, man. That was crazy.
Did it seem, Lucas, for a minute there after Nico signed, I think a lot of people thought they're about to sign everybody. Did it seem like the momentum kind of halted for a minute there with Team Heupel?
Yeah, on offense. It was weird because the 8 commitments after Nico Iamaleava committed to Tennessee in March, they had about 8 commitments, and this was as of last week, so now it's been about 10.
So they were almost all offense, weren't they?
Well, no, last week I was having this conversation on the Ultimate Tennessee podcast with Will.
Shameless plug.
Zone Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts.
Wink, wink.
Last week we're like 7 of the last 8 commitments since Nico's commitment have been on defense.
Oh, have they?
And the biggest wide receiver prospect you were looking at in that span was Carnell Tate, the 5-star prospect who, to Tennessee's credit, made a strong push, but ultimately he goes to Ohio State. That's right. I'm sorry. No, I don't want any legal.
I didn't want
trouble.
I didn't want Eddie texting me, man.
No, you're right. I mean, it's a trademark.
Bagman was tweeting about that right after.
Yes, because Carnell Tate plays for IMG Academy, so Brian Niedermeyer gave a love to see it. Just a tiny little jab, but I mean, I don't know how you can argue that with what Ohio State has shown they can produce at the wide receiver position over the last few years. But Cam Seldon just the other day, and now Sham Umarov, they miss out on Francis Mauigoa, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. He commits to Miami. That was on the 4th of July. But they've really created some momentum over these last 2 weeks. It's been a really good late June, early July, and they're up to 6 in the 247 Sports Composite
ranked 6?
Team rankings. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. They're doing a great job. Great job. Have they signed some DBs? I saw they got the Conyers. Is that the guy?
Christian Conyers. He's one of the best players in Kentucky. Really was a battle against Kentucky at a Bowling Green. Kentucky wanted him. They really wanted him, and Conyers ends up committing to Tennessee. He's rated as the 4th overall player in the state of Kentucky on the composite, which is typically what I look at. But as far as DBs go, safety John Slaughter was a big pickup from them out of Mississippi. Jack Luttrell out of Colquitt County, big-time program down in Georgia, a 3-star prospect. And, and that's it as far as defensive backs go so far. Sylvester Smith was a big one out of Alabama, 4-star prospect. That's their highest-rated DB that they've picked up so far. He was also a recent one the last 2 weeks or so.
You guys worried about the back end of the defense this year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Well, I mean, also in their pass rush, too, did they pick up some pass rushers? That's really, I mean, they actually all play well as a unit, but, they just need to continue to build depth. It's only the second year, so he's doing a phenomenal job. There. They got some pass rushers?
Yeah, you bring back Tyler Barron and Byron Young. And Tyler Barron gave you a brief scare because he enters the transfer portal, and that would have been a huge hit to Tennessee's depth. Ends up stepping back out of the portal, and he's going to stay and play for Tennessee. But you bring in a couple of freshmen, more importantly, the portal with Andre Turrentine, who we've talked about, the transfer from Ohio State, and then Wesley Walker.
He rushes the pass rush?
No, but as far as the defensive backfield.
Those are local guys here from Innsworth. Mm-hmm.
But as far as pass rushers go, you brought in Joshua Josephs out of Georgia, a 4-star prospect in last year's recruiting class, and James Pierce was a big get out of North Carolina. So those two will add some depth, but it has to be the Byron Young and Tyler Barron show. They really have to take a step and carry the load. Young was suspended the first couple of games, like a weird eligibility issue with his JUCO.
He came on at the end, though, man. He looks like the real deal.
Yeah, if those two can get going at the same time, you'll feel a lot better about Tennessee's pass rush with a couple of younger guys. And at defensive line, you feel okay, too, despite losing Matthew Butler. What Rodney Garner can do there. They added a lot in the 2022 recruiting class as well. And Elijah Simmons could take a big step. But defensive backfield is by far the biggest question mark.
I know we know one of the linebackers. Who's the other one?
Jeremy Banks comes back.
Right.
I believe he led the SEC in tackles last season, if I'm not mistaken. You bring back Juwan Mitchell, who was the transfer from Texas.
That I thought would do great things. And
gets hurt mid-season, ends up missing half the season or a little over half.
What I saw.
But, I mean, this guy, it was one of those dudes like, boy, read all about him. And then,
Well, he was the leading tackler for Texas.
Yeah.
And
didn't have the impact you thought he would.
No, he did not. I'm talking about the games he played.
Yeah.
I just saw, okay, he's just okay. I mean, I didn't see anything, special. I mean, especially when you're looking at from him to Toa Toa.
Yep.
It's just hard to say, okay, well, he's not that.
Aaron Beasley had to start a lot of games in his place, so Beasley comes back.
DB.
Sullen Page, another one. So they have bodies at linebacker, and Jeremy Banks, to his credit, I think improved a ton.
Oh, I think he's
in 2021. I think he's playing into an NFL role, but I worry about their speed and athleticism at the linebacker position with over the top, over the middle, intermediate routes. That's been a weakness for them over the last couple of years.
Well, I was going to say the same. We could have had the same conversation. Thinking that Howard from Texas might be the solution to some of this last year.
Or Mitchell.
Juwan Mitchell, yes. Juwan Howard. Yeah, Fab Fiver, Juwan Howard.
Yeah, that one.
That was an issue for Toa.
He does have length. Juwan Howard big time offer plenty of length for them.
Good physicality, too, right? He showed his reach a little bit on that one little smack he had on the sideline against Wisconsin.
Sure did.
But that was an issue with Toa Toa, too, was Tennessee was getting shredded over the middle of the field. So it's been an issue for them for a while now. It'll be interesting.
Different coordinators too. So.
Got to get to the quarterback though. You're right. You got to offset some of that this year.
I thought what Tim Banks did was as impressive as anything that anybody did over there last year.
I completely agree.
I mean, what he hadn't called plays right when he got there.
Yeah, he didn't call plays at Penn State.
And just stepped right into the role and made it work with what he had. I mean, he was just what he did was impressive to me. All throughout the year. I wasn't surprised that the offense, because Heupel's thing is, Blaine and I were talking about this the other day. I think this was on the air, and you're like, they're not necessarily trying to out-scheme you. They're just trying to wear you out to where you start making mistakes, where you're not lined up right and that kind of thing, right? And eventually they just wear you out.
Yeah, it's a fast break offense, and then they get you by storm, especially when they play at home, and then they get up on you, then next you know, a snowball effect, and then now you're scrambling. And they did it versus Georgia, too, in the first quarter. And then Georgia said, we're going to quit doing the scheme. You got that dude. I got that dude. You got that dude. And then that's when stuff kind of starts slowing down. Then their dudes start running around hitting people.
Because they had
like
dudes.
There was no tomorrow. So those are the type of teams, when in the SEC, when you got guys who are super talented and they don't have to worry about scheme and system, that's when they're going to have the issues. But they're going to get, everybody early on. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments that can be made against that, offense. I don't know if there really is. I'm sure there is to slow it down, especially when they're at home, because they start off so fast. The crowd is so loud. I thought that was the difference between Hooker and Milton, is that Hooker had more tempo to the offense, and Milton was just going as fast as he could, would really then get him out of rhythm. I thought Hooker, that was his main stick. It was pretty obvious that he was the better quarterback, and then as time went on, it was proven that. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. They still have two quarterbacks, maybe even three. Milton may have gotten better, and if Hooker keeps running around like that, he's going to get injured. He needs to stay in the pocket and throw the freaking football. He ran way too much for me. And I'm watching it from an NFL's point of view. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm in the NFL, I'm watching that, I'm like, oh, man, that guy, I'm going to break him. That's what they're thinking in the NFL. And I'm not talking about his career as a college athlete. And then that system is all their quarterbacks just read half of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're going to change that, but you could tell when that first guy wasn't open, he'd hold, and then because he could run, then he would run. He was never going through progression reads, and I don't know if that's their offense, and I'm assuming that it is, because the NFL is kind of looking at it like, well, dang, man, all he had to do was he had protection. All he had to do was take his eyes to the other side if one side wasn't open.
Well, it's fair because look at Heupel's history with quarterbacks. How many of Heupel's quarterbacks have found success in the NFL?
Oh. Well, the one kid got injured. No, I don't know any.
None of them.
Well, he coached Drew Lock one year, right? Or two
in Missouri. Yeah.
Oh no! See, so that style
trolled by the U.S. Open
of offense for quarterbacks is not as successful, and that'll hurt him in the draft. I mean, he naturally is going to get drafted, but yeah, that may he could have a phenomenal year and still be a second-round pick.
Yeah. Well, I've seen several lists that have. I saw one list that had 5, 6, 7 guys in the first round. He wasn't any of those guys. It was dudes I'd never heard of. Yeah. And they still had a bunch of quarterbacks.
I think he's capable.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
So it'll be interesting. He'll definitely get drafted though. Him and Tillman to be the question of how high will he go.
All right, there's a big bunch of races coming up here at the Fairground Speedway. We've been giving away tickets. Actually, we can let's do this right now. Why don't we do this, and then we'll bring on one of the drivers. The hottest short track racing event of the summer is Saturday, July 9th. Nashville Fairground Speedway, 2 great races, twice the fun. Rackley Roofing presents a Superstar Saturday night featuring Hall of Fame inductees Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte, Matt Kenseth, and 4-time Indy 500 champion Helio Castroneves. We got your chance to win tickets now. So be caller 5. Chance to win the ticket, 615-737-1045 or 615-737-9986. Late model Masters of the Pros. 150 race starts at 5 and the Camping World SRX race at 7 p.m. General admission starts at only $35. So reserve some tickets online at NashvilleFairgrounds.racing. And one of the guys who's going to be out there trading paint with all those guys is Cole Williams, who joins us now. Cole, how in the world are you doing, man?
I'm hot right now. We're doing pretty good. How about you guys?
You're high? High or hot?
Yeah, I'm hot. I'm hot right now. It's hot out here.
Okay. I was just making sure Lucas was giving us.
We
Google
thought maybe
eyes,
like high atop, Fairground Speedway up there on the press box or something. At Cole Williams 46, you can follow him on Twitter. So we're pitching both of these races, telling people you can go to both. Am I mistaken here, or are you about to pull double duty and race in both of these races this weekend?
I'm a full double duty, running 150 with the Master of the Pros, and then do the whole event with the 2 heat races and the 75 lappers with SRX. So it's a busy schedule for me.
Camping World SRX race, and you heard some of the names in it: Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte, Matt Kenseth, Helio Castroneves. It's got to be cool racing against those kind of guys and to have a chance to really kind of match yourself among some of the best there ever was.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of hard to believe because most of these guys, I mean, I've been watching them since I was a little baby. So the race with them and know their accomplishments and stuff, it's been great to get out there and kind of run door to door and everything you've seen on TV with them, maybe try to relate that and maybe use it to my advantage on the racetrack.
Yeah, Cole Williams, our guest. He's at Cole Williams 46. He will be racing this weekend. He's the 2-time Nashville Fairgrounds late model champ, and he's on with us now.
Yeah, Cole, you're a local guy. Do you feel like that will be to your advantage, racing some of these guys?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, this place, Nashville, has a lot of characteristics of how you can move around the racetrack. I mean, you got a high, low, middle groove here, so most of these tracks that they've gone to so far this year, it's been a one-groove dependent racetrack. So hopefully being able to know what the car is doing and be able to move around and adjust the feeling of the car based off that groove. Hopefully that's kind of my advantage, especially with these cars kind of all handling about the same.
I know you're getting to race some big-name guys, man. What's the biggest name guy that you've raced or beat? Or is this the first time you get an opportunity to do that?
I mean, I've raced with Chase Elliott, John Hiram Nemechek, a bunch of them. Most of these guys, a lot of the guys in NASCAR, they've went through the late model ranks. So I've raced with quite a few of them. But it's kind of funny. Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman, they're both from Indiana as well. for where I'm from. So I keep joking around. I'm going to try to be the best Indiana driver this weekend.
I like it.
You throwing shots. All righty. So are you going to make a prediction? You're going to be the first one to win 2 races.
Oh, I mean, that's the goal. I mean, we come to the racetrack to try to win, but it's all about having fun. Hopefully, I have a lot of people coming in, a lot of family and friends all over the country, actually, that I haven't got to see as much. So be able to catch up with all of them and kind of it's like a big group get together and just get to go out there and do what I love to do. So that's the most important part, and just enjoy it with everybody.
With everybody watching, does that, your family and friends, does that bring a little more pressure to you there, Cole?
It definitely brings pressure, but I try not to think about it too much, especially with running 2 cars this weekend. Hopefully, being so busy, I don't get to think about it as much. So I'm just gonna go out there. I know I've been doing it for a little bit, so hopefully I can use that experience and be able to use that to my advantage, and hopefully it benefits me on the long run. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of people here. It's gonna be a great atmosphere.
We're on with Cole Williams, 2-time Nashville Fairgrounds late model champion.
Cole, I took my son to see the Cup race a couple of weeks ago here in Nashville, and it was probably just out on the parking lot, about 156 degrees. We had cold towels over our head, and we were just sitting watching. And I thought about the guys in the car wearing the fire suits and the helmets, racing on the same pavement, or concrete, as it were, out there making those circles at, 160-plus mile per hour. And I always laugh when people say race car drivers aren't athletes. I would like to put any regular person, have them drive, 200, 300, 400 miles in an oven going as fast as it'll possibly go. And then let's talk to them about who's an athlete, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely high. I mean, I've played a lot of sports. I'm actually, I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I go out and I try to at least do my best. But I do a lot of golfing, and I play some basketball here and there. But the racing, just the toll it takes on your body with that heat and stuff is very demanding, and definitely takes a toll on yourself. So there's a lot of conditioning. Like I said, I do a lot of sports outside of the racing and do a lot of running in the gym. I mean, it's a constant effort of building that upper strength and cardio. So I'm hoping, I've been conditioning hardcore for this event and knowing that it was going to be one of the hottest weekends of the year. So hopefully I feel like I'm pretty good condition for the whole thing. And, of course, you got to stay hydrated. So I've already taken some IV mixes for water and stuff to try to pump me up and keep my hydration up. So it'd be a big and be important to stay that way.
Can I ask you a question? This is kind of personal. You can pass if you need to. You really got to go to the bathroom and you're driving the car, and it's like lap 4. What are you going to do?
Oh, 4?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been racing for 10 years. I haven't used the restroom in the car, so I'll let you know when that happens. Usually, I try to get in the restroom before I go on the track, but most of the time when you get out there, you get in that. It's kind of hard to describe. I tell people you get in this different zone, and also a lot of athletes probably can relate when they're out there doing what they're doing the best at. And you just kind of forget about it. You know what your task is at hand, and that's what you kind of think about. And that's more important. But, man, I'll tell you, I came out of the race car a few times. My bladder was hurting. I had to run to the bathroom.
Oh, my.
All right. One more from me. We just had the NHL draft, National Hockey League, and it's such a different thing because you get drafted to the NFL. You got to, show up and play that season. It's different in other leagues. For a guy like you, 2-time Fairground Speedway championship, how does a guy like you who's winning at the local level, how do you get in an Xfinity car or a truck or how does something like that, how do you get to that point?
I mean, performance definitely always helps, but a lot of, marketability. You got to be able to market yourself, be on social media, be active with the fans, the sponsorship, stuff like that. Building relationships is huge, but a lot of it's funding anymore. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. There's a lot of great drivers up there at the top 3 levels of NASCAR, but you got to have the funding. And don't get me wrong, I have great funding at the short track level. But to get to the next step, it's a big jump in funding. So I'm always looking for that next opportunity, trying to build as much relationships as I can. There's opportunities out there to go to the next level. It's just a matter of getting the funding to go with it. So it's always hopeful. I'm in trust of the good Lord above. So you never know what's going to happen. I always just take it one race at a time.
Well, Cole, I'm going to ask you this last question nobody's ever asked you. That is, you're from Borden, Indiana. I am from Indianapolis, Indiana. Where is Borden, Indiana? Where'd you go to high school?
So my parents actually live and born in Indiana. I actually grew up in Sellers. I was born in New Albany, Indiana, and grew up basically my whole life in Sellersburg, Indiana, which is a bunch of little towns right there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You're probably familiar with Louisville, Kentucky. We're about, if you pass Jeffersonville, Indiana, keep going north like you're heading to Indy. We're about the second exit. You take that second exit right there, and Sellersburg, Indiana is where I'm from. So it's about an hour away from Indy.
Oh, okay.
Hour. Yeah.
You want to give somebody a shout out? From your growing up days,
sponsors,
or somebody your
too,
sponsors, that before we let you go.
I mean, sponsor for sure. I mean, I got Bordeaux Metals, Jeff Haley Construction, Napa all the way from Wyoming has came on board, has been a huge supporter with my racing this year. And then, of course, Rush Trucking Centers that's actually located out in Tennessee. So I got a bunch of help. Without them, none would be possible. And, of course, the good Lord above. I mean, without him, for sure, none of this would be possible. So
the ultimate
we'll
sponsor.
keep working, and we'll see what we can do this weekend. Got a lot of work to do.
All right, Cole Williams, man. Good luck.
That's right. Hey, this town that you're from, every time we bring up a little town in Indiana and we read the Wikipedia page, it says it's in the heart of Amish country. Do you also live in the heart of Amish country?
That is true. There's actually a restaurant
are.
too far from us. There's a restaurant too far from us, an Amish buffet. We go there once in a while. I'm telling you, it's the best food you'll ever eat.
Oh, we're going to follow you on Twitter. I expect buffet pictures coming soon.
You right now.
All right,
sounds
good. Sounds good.
All right, we're following you right now, buddy. Good luck this weekend.
No doubt.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Cole Williams. That's our new favorite driver. Again, late model Masters of the Pros 150 at 5. He's racing in that Camping World SRX race, 7 o'clock. He is racing in that. It's all at the Fairgrounds Speedway, and that is coming up on Saturday. Woo, it's going to be fun. We'll be back with Call Our Shot next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. I don't know. I'm just saying what the Clash are saying.
I love
Lucas,
this song.
It's a great song. The Clash.
My dad was obsessed with the Clash.
Really?
Oh yeah,
What?
the Clash and the Police and U2. That was his trifecta.
Oh.
Raised me on those three.
Who's your favorite of all those?
U2 because he took me to see them like 3 times.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool. Did your dad take you to any concert?
My dad took me to see Bo Jackson when he was playing minor league baseball to play the Memphis Chicks, and there were so many people
I didn't know he was
there.
in the concert.
They sat. No, my mom took me to see the Commodores.
Oh, okay.
She loved the Commodores. It was them and Zapp and Roger. It was the Commodores and Zapp. There may have been another opening act, but yeah, Commodores.
Okay.
It was Thanksgiving. It was the Friday after Thanksgiving of 1978. Whatever day that was. First concert I ever went to was with my mother to see the Commodores.
Nice.
Man, Lionel Richie still in the band, full on spacesuits,
yeah.
afros, shiny stuff. It was magical.
Mine was Elton John in 5th grade.
Whoa. That's pretty good.
Came to
With your
Birmingham.
parents?
My
Yeah.
dad took me in Birmingham in
Man, my parents didn't-
2006.
I feel bad now. I feel like a little ant on the wall. My parents didn't take me anywhere. They never took me to a concert. My first concert I went to, I paid for it myself.
What was
Who
your
was
first concert?
Hey, if it's nasty, Janet.
Oh, Janet.
Yeah.
Oh, Janet Jackson?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Janet. It's Janet or New Edition, one of the two.
Where was she?
Oh, they were at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. Janet, yeah, it might have been New Edition, though. But in my dreams, it was Janet Jackson.
Well, maybe they were together. You're just trying to remember it all. Maybe
They
it
might
was
have been
both of
opening.
them together
Yeah.
on some kind of super bill.
Mm-hmm.
The next concert that I saw was Ozzy and Motley Crue. That was the Bark at the Moon, Shout at the Devil tour. It was a slightly different crowd than the Commodores.
Oh,
Yeah.
With your family?
No, with my friends.
Oh, okay.
I saw that one with my friends.
Where did you say that was?
The Roundhouse, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, which is currently boarded up. It looks just like Municipal Auditorium.
So was that the specific show where they afterwards went to a hotel and Ozzy snorted the ants at a hotel pool?
Well, that concert was supposed to have been in 83, but they didn't come to Memphis until 84 because Ozzy had swallowed glass.
Yes.
That was the same tour we also snorted ants and
Yeah, is that a song phrase or did he actually?
no, he
snort
did all
ants?
those things. He
All those
snorted
things,
a line of ants. Like ants were walking in a line and he snorted them like cocaine.
So somebody was carrying around ants and then put them on the table.
No, they
They
were
at
just
a pool.
outside.
They were
by
at a
the
pool, like a
Oh.
hotel pool, and there was just a popsicle. They were just doing crazy stuff, like one-upping each other. And there's a popsicle on the ground, and there's a line of ants going to the popsicle. And Ozzy was like, "Watch this!" And he got down and he snorted the line of ants. And even the Motley Crue guy was like, "All right, you win. That's it."
And so somebody got that on camera.
No,
Nah.
but enough people have told the story to make you think, okay, this must have really happened because enough of them have recounted the story. Let's recount this. It's time to call our shot, brought to you by Chattanooga Whiskey 91, an award-winning small batch bourbon available at your local retail store. You want to sneak in a call shot, you can tweet us at Blaine and Mickey, hit us up in the Zone TV chat, or even try to sneak in a quick call on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. Bill says, I saw you two at the Murphy Center at MTSU.
Oh, nice.
I remember, I've had multiple people tell me they were at that show.
Oh, is that the Rattle and Shake tour? I don't know
Rattle
if I
and
have
Hum,
that right.
I think
Rattle
it
and Hum. That's right. That's right.
Which
Yeah.
is a fantastic concert film and
Yeah.
movie if you've never seen
Super
Rattle and
underrated.
Hum.
Yeah.
All right, boys, it's time to call the shots. What do we got here?
So I've been doing a lot of looking ahead to the 2022 college football season with SEC Media Days coming up in about a week and a half. And my shot is that Auburn will be last place finishers in the SEC West in 2022.
You going to throw in how long my friend Brian Harsin lasts?
You might as well just say he's fired.
You might
Yeah.
as well say he's getting fired
I
after like
think so.
week 8. Well, yeah, he'd let him coach Bama against Bama, so
Yeah.
he'd coach the whole season.
If that does happen, I think that would be it for Brian Harsin. It's such a tough situation for him because I don't think he deserved everything that happened to him over
didn't.
the
Nobody
course of the
deserved that.
offseason.
No.
No, it's just kind of the nature of that position. But there's so much turnover with his coaching staff and so much turnover on the roster. New quarterback, Zach Calzada, transfers in from A&M. Bo Nix is now an Oregon player. Yeah. But it's like he has the situation of a first-year coach with the staff turnover and the roster turnover, but the pressure of a 5th or 6th year coach that may be working for his job. So he's just in a really, really tough spot. And I think the SEC West is going to be so good this year that it really could come down to that Auburn-Mississippi State game as far as who finishes last in that division. I think it's Auburn.
Man. That's my friend now. You just.
I know. And I do hate it for him. Like, it was brutal what happened to him over the offseason. No one deserves that.
You know what's nuts too, and I'm looking it up. His overall head coaching record, 82-31.
Oh yeah.
He was the guy who was calling plays when Boise State played Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. He was like 20-something because he'd played quarterback at Boise State, was a backup, and had stayed on the staff there and rose up through the ranks, was an assistant for Mac Brown, got the head coaching job at Arkansas State, won 9 games, won the conference, went back home to Boise. I mean, if you just blindly said, okay, this guy's resume, I think a lot of people said, yeah, I'll take that guy. But him being more of a Northwest guy, that hire was panned from the beginning. He was doomed by a lot of people.
And the recruiting just hasn't been good enough. And he could go 7-5 this year. And it would, if the recruiting didn't improve, I think the pressure just would not let up.
Yeah, he was 69-19 when he got the job overall.
Yeah, he's won a lot of games.
Blaine Bishop, what you got, man? Dylan says from the Zone TV chat, here's my shot. Baker has a better season than Tannehill and Dak. Oh, now that's a shot. They'll throw the ball more with that rule.
I'm going to go against Dylan then.
Oh.
My shot is Sam Darnold starts game 1 for the Carolina.
No. Something bad's going to have happened to Baker if that happens.
Everybody thinks that's not going to happen. It's going to happen. I just said it.
Man, that is an out there shot.
The
Okay.
NFL doesn't want that to happen.
They do not.
He's an emergency policy. Now, think about this, guys. They didn't give up a first round. They gave up a 5th and maybe a conditional 4th.
Yeah.
So it's not their obligation to pay him. Now, they're paying him money, but not a lot. They paying him $5 million. That's backup money. So I'm sticking with what I said, Sam Darnold.
Darnold just balls out in the preseason. Can't have the job.
He's going to rise up his game. And by the way, Darnold's been in the offense for 1 year. And he's still young. I keep telling you guys, he's only 25. This guy's got some talent, man. I think he's going to be all right.
All right, I'm going to reiterate my shot from last week that Philip Forsberg does get the deal done. They got to get it done by the 13th. Today is
Wednesday.
The 8th.
Got to be Wednesday.
They're $500,000 apart per year or whatever, and Blaine did a fantastic job of breaking all that down. We're all saying just do it, and you're like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Oh.
Poyle's trying to win his side of the negotiation. No movement, no trade clause. Uncle Dave needs something. Uncle Dave needs some relief. Also, I think this would be a shot from both of us. Bud Adams, finalist for the Hall of Fame semifinals. Bud going into the Hall of Fame where he belongs.
That's for sure.
All right.
Should have been done.
A long.
Oh, one more.
Oh,
just
more
because
shots.
He just inspired me with the mohawk. Y'all go just laugh at me. Kevin Durant is not getting traded. I'd make as much damn Brooklyn that he's not getting traded, but you can go ship Kyrie out.
There you go. Multiple shots. Now our shot is 3HL is coming up next. Have a great weekend.
Come on, Sam Darnold. Don't let me down.
Peace.
Oh, my God.